Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to Game 3 of this best of 3, the decider. It's from the Zotac Cup, it is between the blue Terran player in the lower right position, it is GoOdy, and his opponent in the top right as the red Protoss, it is Welmu. TvP Game 1 and 2 have been very interesting, and yes, we will wait and see what's going to go down. Obviously something with the observers going on there, but none the worry to us, and yeah. Let's wait and see what's going to happen. In terms of map, Entomb Valley is a great map. The only downside to Entomb Valley is obviously the fact that for the Protoss player, going Colossus isn't too great. Mainly because if you're pushing in here and some Vikings come over this dead space, you're pretty much dead. There's lots of areas you can do things like that. So because of that, I reckon we'll see Welmu. If he does choose to tech up relatively quickly, he will go for most likely High Templar. Of course, there are other things he can go for, so we'll wait and see what comes down there. GoOdy had a really nice hold last game. Game 2, that 4-gate Warp Prism harassment, it was a great choice on that map, and it was so difficult for GoOdy to hold, especially when the Warp Prism stayed alive. That was the only fault you could say in his players. He did try to pick off the Warp Prism early on and got it down to like 2 health, but the Marine just stood there rather than killing it, allowing those Warp-ins to continue, which made things a lot harder than they necessarily were for GoOdy. But luckily for him, rather than going for the mech build he went game 1, he went for much more standard, 1 Rax command center, 2 additional gas, then the 2 additional racks, then the 2 gas. So that's quite good. Meanwhile for Welmu, he's going all standard at the moment, taking his bases is, it depends how he really wants to play it, to be honest. I mean, you've got quite an easy base to take here, if you want to, because you can wall it off, but then you're exposed a bit to drops coming from the side, but due to their spawn positions, only drops would come in would really be to the natural, or into the main if you try to sneak them through, so that's not a huge problem, in my opinion, and ultimately, we'll just wait and see what's coming down, but it looks like GoOdy not actually going for the quick command center, but rather getting up the 2 racks, and as a result, he's going to be able to put on more pressure. Welmu is going to have to be thinking a bit more defensive and hang on, how do I hold against this aggression? But he scouted it all out. Obviously the probe is there, so he knows precisely what's going to be going on. Now, while we wait and see how this all phases out, let me remind everyone, if you could be so kind as to like the video, if you do enjoy my casting, that would be awesome. And leave a cool comment as well, let me know what you think of the games, my casting, if you want to see more Heart of the Swarm, if you want me to cast some more subscriber games, if you want me to keep going how I'm going, all those sort of things would be great. And yeah, also subscribe as well, because I get new games up daily, so that'd be awesome, because then you get to see more cool StarCraft. So, looking down here for GoOdy, he's got the Marines coming out, he's going to pick off that probe, and that probe does importantly see this SCV pool. The reason that is so important is because Welmu can now assume that this command center has likely come down. As a result, you know that the pressure is less likely, and because of that, Welmu cancels that second gateway. That is hugely important. He's going to go and take his own expansion, so a bit of mind game is coming out of GoOdy here, trying to fake the 2 racks pressure and instead just going into the command center just a little bit delayed. But Welmu, with a brilliantly timed scout, is able to really sum it up and deduce what's going on here. So Welmu is definitely happy right now. He's sending the Stalker over, he's going to see that bunker as well. I may even just get to see the command center. The 2 gas now following this up, so this is very normal. It's going to allow a couple of add-ons to go onto those barracks. Up comes the Stalker. The Stalker sees that there, sees everything he needs to know. He knows, yep, completely safe. Nexus down, everything looking ace now for Welmu. He's got his gas coming up. Good strategy though by GoOdy, trying to go with those little mind games, and Welmu did fall for it at first, but the cancel on the gateway was absolutely perfect. It was really solid, and it's the sort of thing that you won't see many people do, or at least not in the lower levels. At this sort of level you will see it, but generally speaking, I'm sure most people watching wouldn't have cancelled the second gateway. It just would have finished, and then you would have been in an awkward spot where your Nexus was delayed, etc. But as we can see here, got to be a little bit careful with these Stalkers. There's a lot of Marines. Not going to risk stutter step microing there, just pull the Stalkers back, be safe with them. Sentry coming out, and now the robotics facility. This is quite surprising getting the Robo down, because as I said, this isn't really the best map to go Colossus on, so it's going to get the Observer out, but by getting that out rather than just going straight to, say, a Twilight Council and into the Templar Archives, you are going to be delaying that. But GoOdy is getting up his 3rd command center, so really economically focused. He's got his tech lab building as well, and the factory, so probably Stim most likely to be seen from the tech lab. The factory just there to get the medevacs out, and obviously start all the add-ons for that. And then the 3rd command center won't actually be flown down for a while, I don't reckon. Much more likely just to wait there, Just get a couple of SCVs, get a couple of extra mules, and then go down when he's feeling safer. But that will, of course, mean GoOdy has a great economy. Meanwhile, we do have the Forge coming up. We do have, well, more gateways coming down. So 3-gate Robo with the Forge there. Only a single Forge, no double Forge, which we saw in Game 1. As a result, Welmu is not going to be getting the double upgrades. May not get quite as ahead, but having said that, GoOdy for the moment, he hasn't even started his engineering base, so no sign of upgrades. And wow, this is quite surprising. GoOdy actually going for a tank, but he is supply blocked for a brief moment, and that means he's not going to be able to get that out quite yet. And that little supply block is going to be very frustrating for him. If he was going for a very tight timing, it's not going to hit by, it's going to be about 10 seconds later straight away, which is not what you really want. And I'm surprised to see this, as opposed to getting out, for example, well, he's going for more of a mech style again, which I find incredibly unusual, considering how much he really got destroyed going mech previously in Game 1, and Welmu scouts this out perfectly. And as a result, Welmu can now prepare to deal with this exactly as he wants. He's getting the second Forge down, he's got his Twilight Council finished up, he's got +1, and he started the Immortal but then cancelled it again. So that's due to seeing this orbital command, and maybe perhaps just going to try and take a quick third, and indeed that looks like what he's going to try and do. He's got the money for it now. So again, good thinking, good planning out of Welmu. He's seeing what his opponent's doing and is reacting to his build, not panicking at seeing this mech, not panicking at seeing the tank produced, and as a result, he's going to be really going into a nice spot in the mid-game. So, all in all, these two are definitely starting to look a bit more passive. Expanding to this third is not a big problem for Welmu. He's going to be quite comfortable doing it. And due to the fact this orbital hasn't floated down to GoOdy's third yet, Welmu should be on pretty equal basis. He will be slightly behind in the worker count, but again, first GoOdy's got to catch up in the workers. So, wouldn't worry too much. Obviously, mules are there, but again, not a huge problem. More gateways being added on now. No sign of anything else, just charge coming down. No sign of the Templar Archives yet in order to get down those High Templar and therefore Archons. There we go, literally as I was saying. Archons, best thing you can do against this composition with Immortal Archon is going to do really, really solid. You don't want to overcommit though to getting the High Templar out. And in some ways I can see why GoOdy would go mech here, because it's quite likely that your opponent, if he didn't scout all of this out, would go for that. And is the Observer going to get away? Oh my goodness, wasted scan! Now, that may seem like something really tiny, but of course that's one mule that's not going to come down. The Observer still managing to survive. There isn't enough energy for another scan yet, so of course if that does manage to stay up, that forces yet another scan, and it gives a bit more information about what's coming down. So I don't know if these extra factories can be seen from there yet, from GoOdy's point of view. No, you can't quite see it, but he can see that the orbital command is now floating down. That's what he needs to know. He knows the timing of the third now. He doesn't get count on the army, but of course a couple of tanks out, the missile turret there, the drop with a few Hellions pulled back, so that's again just due to the fact that, well, we've got an Observer seeing it there, we've got Stalkers already, and so no damage really done on either side. It's pittance of units taken down, cancels and things like that, so no worries at all for either of these two players. More gateways on their way. The Templar Archives is now finished. We should see a couple of Archons soon. There we go. One Archon on its way down now. The Immortal count also going up at 2 already. At some point, Welmu does need to think about getting out those Colossi, just to deal with the tanks with the range and the Marines. So that's going to be in the long-term plan for him. But for the short term, he's got this wall off up. And as a result, he doesn't need to worry too badly. Interestingly, he's gone for the pylon gate as opposed to the pylon on the back and then just 3 gateways, which is different to what a lot of people will do on this map. And it's not, doesn't really matter, it's a minor thing. But yeah, here we go. Pylon logo, more Walkins coming down, lots of Zealots here. And in goes the charge, the tanks on siege, some force fields try to go down, unfortunately not quite on target, and therefore the Hellions are able to escape. But the Observer, getting all the information needed, GoOdy pulls back. He does not want to go for this right now. He doesn't have the right composition to deal with this much stuff. And as a result, he's going to just happily pull back and wait, bide his time, try and take a more defensive position. He's got a forward missile turret here, just to make sure that the Observers don't come in quite as badly. And now, just at really a nice time, we've got the robotics base starting just down here. So Colossus are en route. The second robotics facility will allow for double production of those Colossi. That's good, but look at this. Hellions are going to manage to sneak in, and they do have Blue Flame done. So that means they could get a good number of probe kills, and straight away, GoOdy rather, is knocking down a lot of these, and they do line up. So while the Hellions get cleaned up, 11 workers have been killed now, and that actually takes GoOdy quite substantially ahead. 11 workers ahead, with the 3 mules as well, and the 4th command center on the way. That is great news for the blue Terran player here. Obviously, We've got some cannons now coming down in response to that. This cannon down here is just to defend against drops. This one against anything coming in. No cannons yet at the third base. It's something that you don't have to worry about too much just due to the spawn position. It's unlikely a medevac will come all the long way around, but it looks like Hellions could be. They're not going to be able to get in though due to the wall off there. So that's why you basically wall this off. There's also a pylon ready for the quick detection of that, and the army could reposition to deal with it. The first Colossus in production, extended thermal lance on its way down. May see a second Colossus very shortly, but instead actually just pumping in more Immortals. So that's the deal with the tank count. A couple of Hellions do manage to get dropped in, but with the cannons there, they should get cleaned up fairly quickly. A couple more kills go down though, and of course, still keeping Welmu nearly just over 10 workers less than him. When you factor in the fact that, hey, I've got orbital commands, I've got my 4th command center up now, it's all looking good. More orbitals more command centers getting thrown down, more orbitals are going to be thrown down. Taking this 4th is a little bit awkward, but GoOdy, he's just going to get a good number of orbital commands up, good number of mules, and as a result, he's going to have insanely high income production. The 3rd robotics facility is now en route for Welmu, so he's going to really be ramping up the production. Upgrade-wise, he's got 3-3 corner boosting out. Upgrades for GoOdy, well, he's got 2-1 on the way, so obviously a very large upgrade advantage to the Protoss player. And that's something that you do have to be careful of, is Protoss players getting good upgrade advantage, but things like this harassment just delays Welmu's push out, delays him being able to engage, and GoOdy's doing the right thing by just expanding loads. So we see Welmu having to pull back, having to deal with this, and this is really where you want to be going for a drop if you were going to do it, is once you've pulled all this army back. But due to the fact that Welmu has these cannons down, it's a little bit awkward. But say, for example, now, when all this army was pulled over here, if GoOdy had dropped in here, he could have sniped off, say, the robotics bay, which would have been absolutely massive. But that's quite a coordinated attack, and very, very stressful. But, wow. This is a lot of tanks. 16 tanks now on the field. That is pretty huge. The medevacs have been loaded up with a couple of Hellions. These Marines just getting sacrificed because, hey, I need to free up some supply now, guys. I really, really need more supply available. We've got the command center trying to get hidden command center trying to go down there for GoOdy, but he does get spotted. Of course, GoOdy now sitting there with way more bases. He's going to make the engine orbital command, float this one down. It'll be a planetary fortress just to provide the extra defense of the 4th base. But I love this plan of trying to take the top left corner. Unfortunately, Welmu did scout it out. Otherwise, that would have been a big advantage of GoOdy, especially with all the mules as well. You could literally just take that and just mule it to death. And, well, then you laugh when you get so many minerals. Still then, 3 robotics facilities, not doing very much. Welmu maxed out, of course. He's got his final Colossus on the way, another Archon morphing. I'll take him to 4 Colossus, 4 Archon, and 5 Immortals. So with that, he should be quite good. Another drop coming in, and yet again, these probes getting taken out. And while the Hellions are getting taken out, when you've got this many mules coming out, Hellions you can basically consider as free. Especially when they're killing probes. If you're killing probes, you are going to be happy. This pylon trying to come down. We can see, even after the next wave of probes, still GoOdy is like a good 12-13 workers ahead. With all those mules, his income, I'm going to be scared to look at this, but look, he is already really pushing against his opponent. He's got these center gases, which his opponent doesn't as well. And once those mules really start kicking in, which there hasn't apparently been a cooldown for a while, that's going to just make things completely bonkers. Should see a transfer of a couple of SCVs as well, or they may just actually go into suicide because you don't need them. But look at this, push coming in the middle on a mass grey siege line. This is not an engagement Welmu wants to take. He's losing so many units right here. And yes, some force would go down, capture quite a few things off guard. But to be honest, that was not a nice trade for Welmu. In my opinion, he lost so much stuff there. He didn't really pick off that many tanks. This is just such a nightmare to try and push into. The center tower is actually critical to what GoOdy's doing here, and the reason for that is he needs to know when this push comes around the other side so he can reposition his tanks. Once he's repositioned those tanks in a nice siege line like this, Welmu is just unable to push forward, so really quite difficult to deal with. Welmu going for the Stargate. I can see the logic here. Your opponent's gone really tank heavy, tanks don't shoot up, let's make some air units. It's probably a good way to try and deal with this, but GoOdy of course maxed out. He's going to start catching up in the upgrades as well, as long as he does keep upgrading. He needs to start the 3-2 upgrades. 3-3 is of course done for the Protoss player. He's also got +1 shields, +2 shields on the way down. The Dark Shrine on its way, that's just more for Archons because, well, look at this missile turret coverage. You are not going to be getting anything there. Now the pylon getting taken down, GoOdy building yet more command centers. Of course the sensor tower yet again revealing, hey, my opponent's going this way. As a result, I need to make sure my tank's in a good position, and the thing Welmu really has to be careful for is if he goes up there, he could potentially get completely trapped, so that would be an absolutely crazy move, and I'm really glad to see that Welmu's not going up there yet, because that would be, don't go up there Welmu, seriously, it's a trap, don't go up there. Please don't go up there. Please just ignore that. One zealot is fine. Oh my goodness. Seriously, this is so bold because the tanks over here could unsiege and just come over here, and then you're suddenly going to run into problems. You can try and pick up some SCVs and mules here with the Colossi, but the Vikings are coming in. There's so many Vikings. That Colossus is going to melt. Ooh, one does get knocked down to half health. The other one only shields went down. Scans going. Welmu does manage to escape out with his life at the moment. Tanks moving closer. Trying to get a better secure position. Oh my goodness, the Colossi are yet again exposed. One falls very quickly. Get the Vikings out there. Get the Vikings out there. But it looks like no. GoOdy wants to try and exchange. He gets a second Colossus. He lost a couple of Vikings for that. But of course, he has got so much money banked up. It doesn't matter too much. The only thing GoOdy is really struggling with is 100% his gas. He needs a bit more gas in order to sustain this build. Now we see Welmu starting to take out these rocks. Again, not a big problem. He wants to try and look at expanding again. Exactly what he should be doing here. Just taking an extra expansion. The reason he took out those rocks is just in case GoOdy had taken one of these expansions by floating a base in there. And it wouldn't surprise me if he had, because obviously GoOdy tried to take this before. We do have Welmu checking that yet again. So, a really nice play. Now GoOdy moving forward with a large portion of his force. And this is a very, very scary force. Although, 2-1 upgrades are done. No more upgrades yet. The tank's not even sieging up right now. The Thor's a bit out of range, but just look at this. The Vikings in a perfect position, able to snipe off those Colossus. There's hardly any anti-air, and as a result, without that Colossus, GoOdy is just going to steamroll through, and he's made mech work very well. He was strategic. He waited for the right moment to engage. I don't think that was a good engagement for Welmu. Just in his positioning, he should have tried to back away, because as we can see now, this is pretty much a one game for GoOdy. Welmu would have to do something absolutely astronomical in terms of defense to hold this off. He's 70 supply behind. It would just be so awkward. So awkward. And as we can see, the Archon's morphing. DT's trying to come into morph in as well. But this siege up, it's going to get into a lovely contained position. Tanks are sieged, and now look at that shelling go down. The Immortals are able to back away, of course, with so many Thors though. With just so much aggression, Welmu just starting to march up towards his opponent. Not even leapfrogging the tanks in their siege line, just pushing straight forward, not even bothering to siege now, just pushing through, and we should see the GG any second. Welmu had half the supply of GoOdy, and this was some beautiful, beautiful play, trying to feed back the Thors, but again, there's just too much stuff here. GG, any second should be called. Welmu obviously wants to hold on because it is a semi-final, but you just have no chance here. There was literally nothing you're going to be able to do in this situation. Zero, zilch, none. Even the DT's getting scanned out, so your chance of killing everything with DT's rapidly evaporating. And, well, last two units coming in, waiting for the scan to finish. Are they going to go? A few more DTs. Your last ditch hope. I think this takes If Behind Dark Shrine to a whole new extreme, though. And, yep, there goes another scan. Everything gets cleaned out. Welmu is losing things everywhere, and there is the GG, and GoOdy advances to the finals, of course, going 2-1 against Welmu, who put up a great fight, but GoOdy, he made mech work for a start, and also his game 2 defense of that 4-gate War Prism was ace. So I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and leave a cool comment, and I will catch you all tomorrow for yet another new cast. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.